So one phrase that's been going around in the Wuthering Waves community pretty much ever since the start of the game has been the term gathering wives. Now this has been due to a lot of the stuff that's been going on in the story, and also that's been going on with characters, character design, and how they interact with Rover and everything like that. And well, it's something that some people got fed up of and left, and it's also something that actually engaged players even further to play the game even more, and it's even gotten to the point where people have actually started to meme it even to this day in version 2.2. Now obviously new 5-star characters that have recently come out like Cantarella have actually proved the statement even further, with her being quite intimate with Rover, and you know, it's been the same for a couple of other characters in rinascita. And well, it seems like the conversation of this has started back up again, with people actually getting annoyed over this, and also there's been a couple of Wuthering Waves adverts which some people have not been enjoying. So in this video we're going to be going through everything you need to know about this, what kind of adverts have actually been put out there, and what do people actually think about advertising like this, because again, it could be really good for Wuthering Waves, or it could become a problem for Wuthering Waves. So yeah, if you guys do enjoy this video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and also go to game services, my code CASA, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there. I definitely recommend checking it out. Yeah, let's get back into the video. So this is one of the first posts I saw. It was over on r/wuwa has bandos. Now bear in mind, yes, I know r/wuwa has bandos. I've made a video on them in the past. They do go pretty extreme in terms of their hatred for female characters in the game, and obviously their love for male characters in the game. Now obviously this post says, have you guys seen these ads? If so, how do you guys feel about it? They say, for some reason every time I see these gadget game ads like these, it's always so cringeworthy. Even lads suffer from the same fate as these ads. The only good ad I saw was Genshin, but that was during the pandemic. After the pandemic I started seeing ads like these. I haven't seen as many ads, mostly as I have an ad blocker, and so I'm free from saying this kind of stuff. But for anyone that has seen these ads, what are your thoughts? So obviously this is a post over on Twitter. You know, some people saying I've made some feedback to Kuro complaining about the direction they're taking with their ads and telling them it's not a good way to advertise the game for people to think it's a dating sim. And as you can see here, this is a new advertisement. This isn't an old one, because as you can see, Cantarella is clearly in here, and essentially they're just furthering on the whole gathering wives aspect of the game, with this one being Cantarella and Yinlin, and then this one saying choose your partner, and then having Carlotta and Cantarella on either side, which again does make the game out to be something that it's not. And obviously not every single advertisement for Wuthering Waves is completely decided by Kuro. Sometimes, you know, they outsource it to other people who do advertisements, you know, advertisement agencies who think that, you know, these ads are going to do best for the game. And also sometimes people just like release random ads as well that they've edited themselves, which again is a very common thing. But obviously it does seem like this is an official Kuro Games ad, which I do see why some people have a problem with it, because it is kind of misleading in terms of like bringing people over to the game. And I think it does provide this like kind of whole dating sim aspect, which the game simply doesn't have. And you know, obviously some people are going to come over to it, expect that, or some people are going to come over to the game and, you know, start playing it and then ask for more updates that, you know, align with this whole gathering wives aspect, which I do think is a little bit of a problem, because I don't want the game to become entirely that. But I don't mind the actual like aspect in it in itself. I don't mind, you know, some of the characters falling for Rover in the story. I mean, Rover is a pretty powerful character in general, and you know, they go around, talk to a lot of people. I mean, it's to be expected that, you know, sometimes this kind of stuff happens, but it does happen an awful lot, and it does happen like pretty much with every single female character we come across. So again, they do go kind of crazy with it, and it seems like Kuro Games definitely do want to double down on that aspect of the game with the whole choose your partner kind of adverts. Now I haven't seen any of these ads personally myself, because I do have ad blocker and stuff like that, so I never really see anything. But I have seen many ads similar to this for other games, so I can, you know, pretty much tell what kind of ads these are, and they do tend to be quite effective. And that is the reason why a lot of people are doing these, because obviously this person says even lads suffers the same fate, and Genshin also does the same thing, and that's because they work. I mean, you know, gacha games obviously, you know, they need to advertise as well as possible, and if this is one of the ways that they can advertise to bring in new players, and this by their analytics and stuff, because obviously they're going to release a, you know, ton of different kind of ads. You know, it's not all going to be stuff like this. They're going to release some cool ones, some more combat-y ones or whatever, and they're going to look at the analytics and go, oh well, the choose your partner one did better, and then they're going to release that one and then double down on it, which is what they're doing right now. And I think, you know, that is a good thing for Wuthering Waves' growth, but maybe a bad thing for building up the community that they want to. Now honestly, I don't think it's the end of the world. I feel like, you know, some people have brains, they can understand that the entire game is not about this entire aspect. Now, obviously, there's even more posts like this in the Wuthering Waves community saying, okay, didn't we have enough of this topic? Why are people talking about the secret homely promise that Kuro never made? You may want certain characters, that's okay, but accusing Kuro about the promise they never made is scummy, which again is definitely true. They say, they baited me with Gian and Scar. No, you baited yourself. They baited me to a ratio because Gian released first. No, you baited yourself. The golden ratio of male to female doesn't exist. No gacha game is gonna make the promise because they're a Chinese company. If you promise something and don't deliver it, China will EOS you. It has been 1 year, but people still talking about a promise which they cannot show anywhere that Kuro made that promise. Obviously, this person is talking about the male to female character ratio in the game at the moment. Now, I do admit it is pretty bad in terms of how many male characters there are compared to female characters. But again, I also don't think it is the end of the world. I feel like if that's the way that, Wuthering Waves wants to market their game, and as this person puts, they didn't promise anything. They didn't promise the fact that, male characters are going to be, one of the most prominent features of Wuthering Waves. That isn't true. Now, they do have male characters, but it doesn't mean that they promise you there's going to be tons in there or anything like that. Now, they say, do you want more male resonators? Well, request them personally. Don't accuse Hoya about not keeping their promises that they never made. And be civil about your feelings. For example, I want dungeon content. You can see my other posts, and I bring dungeon even in unrelated parts. I write about dungeon content in every single survey, but I never attacked Kuro for not making single dungeon content since 1.2, and has unvoiced a few lines. Because I know Kuro never promised me anything about dungeon content, even though she was heavily in CBT1. Now, I think that's an alright comparison. I don't think it is one of the best comparisons you could possibly make. Obviously, Darchil is a little bit different. It's a 4-star kind of character. Of course, they're probably not going to add as much. And I feel like male characters is a much wider, community of people and everything like that. So I do understand where a lot of people are coming from and the fact that a lot of people want male characters to actually come to Wuthering Waves. Now they say, stop attacking Kuro for a promise that's never made. Stop spamming how female resonators are bad. Stop spamming how resonators drip marketing. You're making yourself more miserable. I saw people say that Kuro promised to release this NPC, but never did. And it's an NPC that has much less screen time than some tacit discords. And it's a promise that Kuro never made again. And obviously this is a little image they put up here, before release, silence, and after the release saying, where is our promised male to female ratio? And they're saying, what promise? We never made one. Which is true. I do think that, Kuro Games never promised anyone anything. And I think that, if people are getting upset over that, I think, they're just a little bit stupid. I'm going to be honest, they're a little bit stupid to think that Kuro Games actually promised them anything to do with male characters. Now, if they do have some kind of announcement out there saying, hey guys, we're going to try add more male characters to the game, then yeah, I'm completely wrong. But as far as I know, as someone who covered the game heavily when the game first came out, it was not marketed at all. And people, as they said, Kuro Games does not make promises because, again, that sets up, for failure. That sets up for people, being disappointed in what comes out, which again, can, be a big issue. Now, obviously, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do in the future in terms of actually adding more male characters. Obviously, we just had Brant come out, but again, a lot of people feel like that's not enough. And also, they do touch on as well with a lot of the female characters, especially with Cantarella and things like that. There is all of this hate coming over from these fan bases now due to these people wanting male characters in the game, which is okay, but I just feel like it's kind of dumb to be attacking people for liking a female character, or even, attacking a post just because it is a female character, just because you want male characters. Go ahead and go on Twitter or go on Reddit or wherever, or in the survey, and ask for more male characters, but don't go over to other characters that aren't what exactly you want and then attack it just because it's not what you want, okay? Because again, it's just unnecessary hate. We don't need that to happen. You can be constructive about this. There's plenty of things I want in Wuthering Waves, and you know what I do? I either make a video on it, I either make a tweet about it, I either, put it in the survey, because again, there's lots of things that I want. For example, animation trailers would be great for Wuthering Waves, but they still haven't done it yet. I'm not here going in every single character demo and going, hey guys, why don't we have a story cinematic soon? These character demos are getting a little bit boring. No, I don't do that. As I said, make videos, make Twitter posts, make literally anything, or go over to the survey and tell Kuro Games themselves exactly what you want. So again, I do feel like this whole entire situation is kind of stupid in terms of people just going and attacking, random things just because they don't like something in it, which I don't think is going to get much better, but hey, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the future. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think that there should be more male characters added, and how do you guys feel about the fact that they're actually advertising more female characters over, on YouTube and places like that? Because again, I don't think it's the end of the world. They're just kind of, pushing it to the market that they wanted to, and that should be good for the game's advertisement overall. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.